The ultimate tournament of everything.
Welcome to the Tournament of Everything, a bracket-style show where we compare everything to everything else to figure out which thing is the best thing ever.
That's right. And we do so by carving the names of each of those things into an infinite amount of boomerangs. And we set about training kangaroos to throw those boomerangs. In the process, the first one that boomerang should catch will move on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
the Ultimate Tournament of Everything.
So just so I'm clear, because we do have new rules this week, we're throwing a boomerang at a kangaroo and seeing if it catches it.
No. We are going to train these kangaroos to throw boomerangs, which I imagine will take a lot longer. And the first one that they're able to successfully catch, of course, as we do each week, will be our victor.
So we're instead training kangaroos to throw. Okay, got it. That makes way more sense than what I had in my mind.
They've got those beefy arms. I think they're gonna surprise us, and they'll probably show up in tonight's episode of the Ultimate Tournament of Everything. I think we should waste no time in getting into round one.
Round one.
In round one, we have Hebatola against Ti Tree Northern Territory. While you're looking those over, I do want to say, have you ever seen like a jacked kangaroo? They scare me. Like, oof. I would not want to fight a kangaroo. I would lose.
They are beefy, and they could be concealing weapons in their pouch. One never knows, does one? One also doesn't know too much about either of these competitors in this round. So let's dig right into these articles, starting, with Hebatola.
So as always, anytime we have a small town with a name Mike or I cannot pronounce, there's about a 75% chance this town is in Iran, and Hebatola is no different. It is a village in the Gavrud Rural District in the Central District of Sangor County in the Kermanshah Province in Iran.
Had a population of 231 with our favorite statistic, the amount of families coming in at a whopping 47.
And like most of the small towns in Iran, that is all we know because that is all Wikipedia says.
Okay, but we got a little map here. I think this is broken down into, the equivalent of states or provinces. It seems to be towards the western portion of the nation, kind of in the middle, pretty close to the western border. Don't really know what else to say about it. But I can say that it's in this round competing against Ti Tree Northern Territory.
I love the way you describe things so well for the people who can't see what we're looking at, which is all of them. It's sort of in the middle, but really by the border.
We are nothing if not educationally specific here.
So Ti Tree, formerly Tea Tree and Ti Tree without a hyphen, is a town and locality in the Northern Territory of Australia, located on the Stewart Highway, about 1,109 kilometers south of the territory capital of Darwin.
Now, we thought we were talking about a small town before. In the 2016 census, I'm going to go with Tea Tree, had a population of 70. 70.
Yeah, that is small. It is the closest town to Alice Springs, which I hear makes a great chicken. And the area around Ti Tree has a population of 995 people, of whom 191 are non-Aboriginal.
Well, see, much of the surrounding Tea Tree land, the land surrounding it, rather, is Aboriginal, owned by the Anmatiere people. And their art can be viewed within the town, and there are several interesting sites in the area surrounding said township.
Yeah, no one knows exactly why it is named the way it is, but one of the distinguishing features is a well And since the construction of the Overland Telegraph Line, Tea Tree Well had become known for its good supply of sweet water, but was not enough to make Heffernan's labors financially rewarding. Apparently there's a man named Heffernan involved. Okay.
So what is Sweetwater?
A microphone company last time I checked.
We do see here, though, that sweet water underground probably aids in making it a center for vegetable producing area, producing fresh vegetables and fruit for territory markets, with an annual table grape harvest alone reaping $10 million.
Wow, that is impressive.
Especially for a population of 70. That goes along. I mean, you split that up 70 ways, and everyone's still doing pretty good.
They have a school. In 2018, the school offered reception to year 9, had a total enrollment of 80 students, which 96 were indigenous, and had a teaching staff of 6, who was supported by 7 non-teaching personnel. So, town of 70, school of 86. 80, sorry.
Well,
80.
That means that people from all around are coming to get a little taste of what you got. And I think that they've got it going on. And I think I'm going to put my vote on them to be going on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Should you concur?
As they say in that movie, play it again, Mike.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Stamped down like one of those beefy kangaroos coming and punching me in the face.
Let's get into round 2 before I get beat up by a mob of kangaroos, which I believe is what they're called.
Oh, educational, see?
It's time for round 2.
In round 2, we have Prime Minister's questions against Horsfieldia telodensis, a plant.
Aha. Prime Minister's questions. What could they possibly be asking? Horsfieldia taladensis. What could you possibly be? We're going to find out in this round.
So usually when we have something as plainly named as Prime Minister's questions, it's most likely a rock album. But in this case, it is actually the Constitutional Convention in the UK, currently held as a single session every Wednesday at noon, when they get to ask the Prime Minister questions.
Well, that's neat. Kind of like an interactive fireside chat with the old PM, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so benchmark MPs wishing to ask a question must enter their names on the order paper. Names of entrants are then shuffled in a ballot to produce a random order in which they'll be called by the Speaker. They then get to put out their questions.
They've got such fun stuff, fun little games that they play in that British Parliament of theirs. I guess when you've got a monarch, a queen or whatever, everything can just be a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah, we have some fun games here in the U.S., like Vote and Don't Do Anything, and Hey, Let's Get Mad About That.
Oh, also, no, we didn't. Yes, you did. Both of us are right.
You know who doesn't jerk you around like that? Horsfieldia taladensis. It is a plant in the family Myristicaceae. It's a tree endemic to Sulawesi in Indonesia.
Indeed. Now, this family of which it belongs, the Myristicaceae, are a family of flowering plants native to Africa, Asia, Pacific Islands, and the Americas. That's pretty much most of the places.
That's the world.
Except for Europe and Antarctica. It's been recognized by most taxonomists. It's sometimes called the nutmeg family. So it's got leaves, it's got little buds that come off of it, and hey, everybody needs a good bud from time to time.
It is a genus of evergreen trees, about 100 species, and it is distributed across South Asia from India to the Philippines. Some species are used for timber, and some have medical uses.
Now, has a prime minister ever been used as timber?
That's a great question. And given their storied history, probably.
Does a prime minister have medical uses?
Ooh. Well, perhaps. Perhaps. I guess it depends which prime minister. Some of them have to be a doctor, right? One of them.
Well, okay, so this article of Prime Minister's questions has only left me with more questions, for which I must seek answers. So I think I'm going to move them on, give them another chance, another viewing in the next round of.
The ultimate turtle jump everything.
Well, after seeing the prime minister's questions, I have more questions like where have you been all my life and when will I see you next in round 2?
The ultimate turtle jump everything.
So has it been said, so let it be written. Prime Minister's questions, you're moving on. And I think we're moving on to the next round, which is 3.
It's time for round 3.
In round 3, we have Deadliest Catch Alaskan Storm against Ronald Takaki.
Okay, it is getting real. There's nothing more deadly than something that is the deadliest. And, there's nothing more. The other person, it's not coming up. So I don't have the opportunity. I can't see it.
Oh no.
To come up with something clever. But, Ronald Takaki, we're going to take a look at who you are.
You want to start with Ronald? Is that where we're going?
I do, because I just saw a snippet of his face, and I just want to speak about this awesome-looking dude. He looks happy. I hope he was. He was an academic, historian, ethnographer, and an author. Born in pre-statehood Hawaii, studied at the College of Worcester, and completed his doctorate in American history at the University of California, Berkeley.
His work addresses stereotypes of Asian Americans, such as the model minority concept, and among his most notable books are Strangers from a Different Shore, A History of Asian Americans from 1989, and A Different Mirror, A History of Multicultural America, published in 1993. He was also professor at UCLA and Berkeley.
He definitely was. He liked to have fun as a young boy. Takaki cared more about surfing than academics, earning the nickname 10 Toes Takaki. And during high school, a Japanese-American teacher encouraged him to pursue college and wrote him a letter of recommendation for the College of Worcester, which he would later attend.
Now, he continued to be an important intellectual figure in this area, but unfortunately, he did die by suicide in May of 2009 after battling multiple sclerosis for nearly 20 years.
Yeah, that's not going to be fun.
No, and you know what apparently also wasn't fun? Deadliest Catch Alaskan Storm. Apparently it was a terrible video game.
Okay, so I thought we were talking about a movie or a special or something like that, but indeed, we're talking about a video game, and not only any video game. This is a simulation computer game for the Xbox 360 and Microsoft Windows. Basically, it was based on the television show Deadliest Catch. It takes place in the Bering Sea, and you must navigate through those waters. You must maintain damage to your boat. You gotta hire people, convince them to come along, and all the while, you gotta make your catch.
It has a 4 out of 10 from GameSpot and 56 out of 100 from Metacritic. Apparently, the only thing worse than actually fishing on a fishing boat in Alaska is playing a game about fishing on a fishing boat in Alaska.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look so. There's a little picture of the on the cover of this game. They show that here. It doesn't look like the people on the boat in the picture are having fun, but from the sounds of it, the people that were playing the game were not either.
Yeah. I think I know enough to know that this thing is terrible and does not deserve to advance any further in our competition.
So, what are you insinuating, Rob?
I think we need to acknowledge the great work that Ronald Takaki did and move him on into round 2.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
I too think we should move him on into round 2. 10 toes to Kaki, we're giving you a 10 out of 10 and moving you on to round 2. In
The ultimate tournament of everything.
my round 4 is ready.
In round 4, we have Lespinhan against Karit Etler.
Aha, yes. 2 heavy hitters, one with a sweet haircut, the other with a sweet terrain. Let's see which one will get the sweet taste of victory.
As all our listeners are familiar, Lespinhan is a commune in France.
Yes, it truly is. In the Hérault department in the Occitanie region in southern France.
Yeah, average annual temperature is 59 degrees, average rainfall 24 inches. October is the wettest month, and the highest average temperature is in July, and it's usually a very scorching 74.
So yeah, pretty much all we know about this place is that it does in fact have weather. Confirmed.
Yeah, it does exist. It has a population of 3,299 as of January 2019, and its mayor is Jean-Francois Goubert.
Ooh, that's a great name for a mayor.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else is a pretty great name? Is Kerit Etalar, the better known pen name of Karl Bros Ball. Now, this is one of those O's at the end of his last name with a diagonal line through it, so I'm not sure what that does to the pronunciation.
So I'm going to try and pronounce the work that he's mostly known for, his 1853 book, Zhang Hongdingen.
Good try.
Yeah, not close at all, probably.
Well, I can tell you, he was born Johann Karl Christian Bros Ball in 1816, and in his childhood, he developed an interest in tales of taters and other outcasts.
Okay. Well, there we go. His literary style was unique in Denmark, and it was highly varied and inventive. It relied on entertaining and fast-paced adventure, with effective focus on action, with the main character beating impossible odds.
Yes, so heroes that he conjured within his mind. Although, could he conjure a physical place such as Les Bignan?
Now, his writing, while nice, was criticized for being trivial and for relying on variations of the same character archetypes, with the main characters most often modeled on D'Artagnan, one of the Musketeers.
Okay. So he was a man who took inspiration, and turned that into something else. And I think that if we all turn within ourselves, we might find a little piece of Les Bignan that we might find inspiration from. Now, that being said, it looks like kind of a barren place, arid, maybe high desert. I don't know what's going on there, but it's definitely there. I don't know too much about it. And that being said, I think in the end, I'm going with Kerit et Lar is my choice to move on from this round to the next of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
He wrote some books, but this other place just it seems to have just kind of small trees.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you because, and here's my one reason, this man has a plaque.
Oh.
That's enough for me.
Yep. You get on a plaque, you get definitely a couple of bonus points. And in this case, Carl Bros Ball, you're going on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
ultimately. You got to choose a winner in the end. And sometimes it's a dude named Carl. Let's move on to the next round.
Round five.
Round 5.
In round 5, we have Petoskey, Michigan against the Glob.
Ooh. Petoskey, Michigan. Beautiful. The Glob, known for being hideous. Let's see which aesthetic is going to strike the right tone in this round.
So I think it might actually be pronounced Petoskey, perhaps? Maybe? A city and a coastal resort community in Michigan. About 5,600 people in the town, located on the northern end of the Lower Peninsula.
So that 5670, what is that in families?
Yeah, they don't say, but it's probably more than one and probably less than 5,000, if I had to guess.
So it is like right at the top of the proverbial glove. That would be right about where the middle finger's cuticle would rest, if you will. And it just seems, it's way up there, way north. There is Canada below it. Endpoints.
Yeah, that's true. And so if we, as most things in life, had read just a little bit further, we would have found the answer to our question before we had to look dumb by asking it. There are 5,670 people in the town with 2,538 households.
Oh, wow. It was included.
Reading.
Reading.
Who does it?
So it seems that this location, long inhabited by indigenous peoples, including the Adawa people, the name Petoskey is said to mean where the light shines through the clouds. Um, by the 1850s, several religious groups had established missions near the Little Traverse Bay, including a Mormon offshoot that was based at Beaver Island and a Jesuit missionary based at L'Arbre Crochet.
There's a college in this town, North Central Michigan College, and notable people that have been born here or lived here are Katie Brown, who's a U.S. television host, Forrest Veshevsky, college football player, and coach, including the national championship of the University of Iowa, Mark Farner, lead singer and lead guitarist of Grand Funk Railroad, Sufjan Stevens, singer-songwriter.
Oh,
Yeah.
indeed. So we've got a bunch of really high scorers, but you know where being a high scorer is truly important? It's in The Glob, an arcade game released by Epos in 1983. Now it's a platform game where the player guides a strange blue glob-like creature named Toby through corridors and up and down elevators in search of snacks.
It sounds like a lovely game.
Yeah, everyone gets hungry.
An assortment of animals pursue Toby and fight him for control of the elevators. The player must avoid or stop them and eat a dozen different snacks to clear the 24 levels.
Wow, that's a lot of snacks.
You know
Now,
what this reminds me of?
why don't you tell me?
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were going, but I'm so glad you did. Can you imagine? I bet they've made some wonderful video games out of that. And I'm sure we'll find them in another round of this, the ultimate tournament of everything. But regarding the Glob, it turns out that all you needed to know to play the game was this, the intro message / instructions. It went like this: meet the Glob. Munch all the snacks to clear the level, push call button to ride elevators, use energy to stick to ceiling, and drop down onto the mob. But beware of the mob. Gator, Froggy, Bunny, Monkey, Porker. And that's all you need. You're ready to play the game.
I really thought that Petoskey was going to run away with it, especially after I read the list of famous people. But then I actually learned a little bit about the glob, and it's much closer than I want it to be. Probably too close to call. I think I'm going to need a tiebreaker just for me.
Well, would me giving my just wholehearted just declaration of go glob go change your mind at all?
You know what? I think it does. I think the glob needs to go right into round 2.
Glob, you've got the high score in yourself. Moving on to the next round.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
That's the first video game to move on.
All the people I know in Michigan are going to be so disappointed. 1, in my pronunciations. 2, in the fact that you got beat up by a video game from 1983.
Well, let's put that behind us as we move on to round 6.
Quick turnaround, master. Here comes round wrestling. There you have it. There's your winner. Round 6.
In round 6, we have Ni Lathamara against the 1948 Arab-Israeli War.
Okay, indeed. We have a film versus something of which films are made. Let's see if life emulates art or art emulates life in this round of the Ultimate Tournament of Everything.
Ni Lathamara is a 1979 Malayalam, I think I got that right, Malayalam, language romance film directed by Yusuf Ali Kacheri and written by M.T. Vasudevan Nair, produced on a shoestring budget of 5 lakhs, and I have no idea how much a lakh actually is.
Well, if you lack one, you're going to be in trouble. The film here deals with the romance between a housemaid and the employer, and it was remade with several changes in 2009.
Oh, look at that. So apparently a lakh is 100,000, so 500,000 rupees is apparently how much this was made with. That's their shoestring budget.
A lakh a lay, that's a whole lot of rupees.
Yeah, so it's a romance. As normal romances, they meet, they love each other, they break up, they get back together. There's something in there that breaks them up, either another person or an event from their childhood or some unstoppable force. And then they meet near a river on their way back. 2 people ask them the way to a town. They look at each other, and the word "end" appears on the screen. And then later, but there is no end. So,
because love is forever, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Love is forever. But you know what has to come to an end at some point?
War, hopefully.
Yes, that's exactly right. War, including the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. This was the second and final stage of the 1947 to 49 Palestine War.
Yeah, it formally began following the end of the British Mandate for Palestine at midnight on May 14th, 1948, and the Israeli Declaration of Independence had been issued earlier that day.
Yes, very tumultuous times. We've got mandates, we've got policies, we've got tensions. And on 15th of May, 1948, the Civil War transformed into a conflict between Israel and the Arab states.
Yeah, there's a lot to this article. We could spend a week reading everything that's in here. Wow. Okay.
Holy cow. But you know what? All of this to say war. What is it good for?
Yeah, we got some pictures of some tanks, a list of the Arab states and the Israeli states. There's a lot of people involved in this war. We have a map. Armored division, something about the Southern Front, specific battles.
Yes, a lot of black and white photos showing, it kind of makes it feel dramatic. It's a war after all. Now, I'm not seeing like numbers, as in specific casualty amounts or what have you. This just seems to have been all around, you know, war is never great.
Yeah, war is bad. War is bad. It After the war, Israeli and Palestinian historiographies, historia, yeah, historiographies. We're gonna have to figure that out. Differed on the interpretation of events in 1948. In the West, the majority view was of a tiny group of vastly outnumbered and ill-equipped Jews fighting off the massed strength of the invading Arab armies. It was also widely believed that the Palestinian Arabs left their homes on the instruction of their leaders.
Mm. You know what's really the only reason that I would leave my home? To go
Cookies.
and see. No. Well, perhaps on the way. And then I put them into my pocket, walk right past the counter to go and see Neela Mara, the 1979 film, which I believe deserves to move on to the next round of.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Because love is greater than war.
I agree. And you don't even need to play the intro again. We can jump right into round 7.
That's not how we do things here. We're moving on with love from us to you to the next round of.
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Is it round 7 now?
Round seven. Round seven.
In round 7, we have Simon Rakoff against the 1966 POW Grand Prix.
Ooh. We've got a race versus a Rakoff. Let's see which one is going to come in first place in this round of the ultimate tournament of everything.
Simon Rakoff, still living, born August 30th, 1960, is a Canadian comedian who began performing professionally in 1978 at the age of 18. A veteran of the Canadian comedy scene, he has been performed in every province and is widely regarded as one of the quickest and cleverest Canadian stand-up comedians.
And that is a prestigious group. Probably the reason that he's appeared on numerous Canadian television shows and festivals, including the Winnipeg Comedy Festival and Just for Laughs. He's also a frequent guest on the CBC radio on The Debaters and As It Happens.
His comedy album is titled Surrounded by Idiots, and it was recorded and released in 2014. He is the brother of humorist David Rakoff, so comedy apparently runs in the family.
Yes, they say that blood is thicker than water, and these guys must have a real thick skin. You know, if you're growing up with comedians, I'm sure they got razzed a whole lot. Speaking of getting razzed, let's talk about the 1966 POW Grand Prix. Only one winner came out of this one.
It was a Formula 2 motor race held on April 17th, 1966 at the POW circuit in POW, Pyrenees, Atlantiques, France.
Yes, the aforementioned winner was in fact Jack Brabham, driving the Brabham BT18.
See, now here's the thing I love about the formula races. 1, 2, 3, however many formulas they have. They race around streets. You don't have to go out to some track and watch people go in a circle for 500 laps while you wear a pair of headphones and wonder why it's so hot outside. You can look out your apartment window if you're lucky enough and see cars flying down those streets at speeds you could only imagine you could do legally.
You got to definitely remember not to take your trash out that day. Although, speaking of unfortunate events, I'm looking at this, the map that goes through the city streets, and looking at just kind of the general shape that it creates, I'm kind of seeing a wafting ghost-like creature.
Yeah, I was going to go with flying nun, but I see ghost.
Perhaps it is a nun that has since passed. Perhaps racing fast down the streets in the POW Grand Prix in a subsequent year. We'll never know. But what we do know is that Simon Rakoff is funny, and the 1966 POW Grand Prix is nothing to joke about. So, honestly, in this one, I'm feeling at an impasse.
And see, I think I need to give my vote to Simon just because the world needs more Canadian comedians represented, I think. We have a lot of car races. We have a lot of France. You know what I don't know of? Canadian funny men.
I mean, there's a long list, a great, tradition of Canadian funny individuals. And I'm sure that Simon Rakoff is just another in that prestigious list. And so I think for that alone, I concur. Why don't we move it on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
laughter is the best medicine, they say.
I apologize to all the funny comedians I now am just remembering. You're all lovely.
Don't tell Conan. Let's move on to round 8.
I say, would you by chance have any round 8? Round 8!
In round 8, we have Some Velvet Morning against Carl Conrad Theodor Litzman.
Ooh, now both of these sound like the titles of beautiful poems. Let's see which one will perform beautifully in this round of the ultimate tournament of everything.
Some Velvet Morning is a song written by Lee Hazelwood and originally recorded by Hazelwood and Nancy Sinatra in 1967.
Wow, yes. So I have a vague recollection of an inkling of this song, but it's not really coming to me. Let's learn a little bit more. Written, and then it was part of the soundtrack to a 1967 television special by the name of Movin' with Nancy.
So Nancy Sinatra is the daughter of Frank Sinatra, which I did not know before. Didn't know he had kids. I guess I never knew much about Frank Sinatra other than what his voice sounded like.
Mm. Well, if he was singing in this song, interestingly enough, he would be singing in the 4/4 time signature. Whereas if he was doing a duet with his daughter Nancy, she would be singing in the 3/4 time signature. Making this song probably has a really interesting effect. Hey, there's a little button down here. I think I should press it, and we should listen to this little tune here.
No, we can't. We don't own it.
All right, let's do it.
Everyone's just going to have to imagine. Don't listen. We'll get sued. La, 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 la. You can't hear the song because we'll get sued. Stop playing the song. Now, while the song was not very well received at the time because it was a departure from her normal music, in November 2003, music critics working for the British paper The Daily Telegraph placed the single at number 1 at their spot of the 50 best duets ever.
And then, not to be, undersold, in December 2015, not too long ago, Rolling Stone ranked the song at number 9 in its 20 greatest duos of all time.
The song has been covered a lot over the years by many, many different groups, and sounds like it got better with age. So good for that song.
Yeah. About the meaning of this song, the explanation has been there's been a few interpretations, and here's a quote: "It was not meant to mean so much. I'm not a druggie, so it was never to do with that." Went on to inquire about possible Greek mythology source. I thought they were a lot better than all those fairy tales that came from Germany and had killings and knifings. But that was only about 7 lines of Phaedra. It goes on. It doesn't seem to be that really related. But, who really knows where anything comes from?
You know who might know where some things come from? Carl Conrad Theodor Litzman, a German obstetrician and gynecologist. He probably knows where babies come from.
He knows where we all came from. Now, this individual came from Germany, studied medicine in Halle, Würzburg, and Berlin. In 1814, became an associate professor there, wrote a treatise, but he is remembered for his work in pelvimetry.
I have no clue what that is. Apparently, it is the measurement of the female pelvis.
Mm-hmm. So, this guy went around measuring pelvi.
Yeah.
He was a pelvi measurer.
Yeah, probably the professional term.
Okay. Hey, everybody has to do something. He wrote a. He's remembered for one of his specific works, Das enge Becken nach eigenen Beobachtungen und Untersuchungen, translated into English as the narrow pelvis from personal observations and investigations.
I can tell you've been practicing your German.
I have not. So yeah, he was a. I'm sure that he could, made wonderful observations that went on to be very useful in, the medical field for a lot of individuals with pelvises.
While I'm sure his contributions to the medical community are great, I don't know if his contributions to the world in general are better than Velvet Morning.
And not just any Velvet Morning. We're talking about some Velvet Morning. So, Rob, should we? You've got a button too. I've got a button. I think we should both hit this button together because that is some Velvet Morning. Moving on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament.
So close and so far, all at the same time.
Speaking of so close yet so far, let's move on to round 9.
It's about time for round 9.
Round 9.
In round 9, we have Rita Boli Balafio against Reserva Natural de Monte Salviano.
We have 2 competitors starting with the letter R. That's about all I can tell from this point. Let's see which one are going to be moving on to the next round of the ultimate tournament of everything.
So actually, we have an Italian against a place in Italy. Rita Boli Balafio was an Italian artist who was instrumental in reintroducing collage and decoupage into the United States.
Born Margherita Luzzatto in Trieste, Italy, to her parents, her family moved to Vienna, where she passed World War I. She studied art. She went on, she got married to an architect and an engineer, cousin of a famous painter. They moved to Milan, where Rita became one of the first horsewomen of Italy, riding side saddle, and won the Premio Siglione della Malpensa in 1936.
She was best known for her dramatic window displays in New York City, and additionally, she had many awards and won women exhibitions at museums and galleries. In 1950, the New York Times described her as a leading exponent of decoupage, and her work is included in European reference works on modern art.
Indeed. Fantastic. Decoupage, collage, you really can't go wrong. And what could be more inspiring than, to create those arts than nature itself, including the Riserva Naturale de Monte Salviano in, as you said, Italy, established in 1999.
It lies in the territory of a municipality of Avezzano in the province of L'Aquila. The reserve is named after Monte Salviano, a massif that extends northwest to southwest, dividing the Fucine Basin from the Palatine Plains in the Morisca subregion. Those words mean nothing to me.
But words that might mean something to you are the motto of this nature reserve, which I won't try to pronounce in Italian, but I will read you the translation here: a place of faith and culture in harmony with nature.
Now, some of the animals that are in this nature preserve, we have the common buzzard, the griffin vulture, the kestrel, my personal favorite, the peregrine falcon. Yeah. Red squirrels, porcupines, deer, weasels.
But those are just the living creatures. Let's talk about the sites as well. Not to mention just the history. There's also something known as the Pilgrim's Home. It is a very nice place. There's the Marcy Road, and there are caves as well.
Now, as usual, almost everything goes back to our friend the moth. So one of the animals known in this region is Trioxamera morisca, a moth found in Italy. Has only been recorded in this one place. It always goes back to the moth.
Yes, indeed. I think as we're reaching out into infinity, what we're getting back is moths, but not without exception. And I think that this is no exception to that exception. I'm going to have to lean towards the artist of collage, decoupage, putting things together and putting enough of a performance together to move on, in my opinion, to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
You know what? I think you are wrong. Yeah,
a problem.
I said it. I think we must have a tiebreaker because clearly we can't agree. We can't settle this impasse without having a random number generated from the universe.
Well, I know that you are drawn to moths. I am drawn to moths, but we find ourselves drawn to an impasse here. Let's draw up the tiebreaker.
Time for a tiebreaker.
Right, Danny. Score is tied.
As everyone knows, the only correct way to settle the tiebreaker is for Mike to give me $50.
I'm a little short. Maybe I've got this watch. I also. How about hey, novel concept? Let's pick a number between 1 and 10,000. How's that strike you?
That strikes me a little less inviting than $50, but I'll go for it.
It's in the mail. And my pick is going to be 4,726.
I'm going to go with the year this reserve was founded, 1999. And our number randomly generated is 6,166.
I think I'm closer.
I think you are.
All right. And that means that you, Rita, Bowley, Theo, are one step closer to victory and moving on to the next round of
The ultimate tournament of everything.
Well, that's been all 9 rounds. That's how many we do per episode. And if you've enjoyed any of this while you were driving in your car, mowing your lawn, listening to it while you should have been listening to your loved ones, or doing all the random things we do while listening to podcasts, we're here twice a week.
Yes, educating you, guiding your children through life, and teaching you how to really even understand existence. Learn a little bit more with us next week in the ultimate tournament of everything.
The ultimate tournament of everything.